All right, ladies and gentlemen, number 49. Okay, number 49. 40, remember you have to write all this down. 40 equals 10 square root 16x. Now, eventually I want to get this x all by itself, which means eventually I'm going to have to divide by the 16. But before I divide by that 16, I've got to somehow get rid of the square root symbol. But before I can get rid of that square root symbol, I need to get rid of this 10. So we start with the 10, and we divide both sides by 10. Over here is 4. Now, your next goal is to get rid of this square root symbol. How do I get rid of the square root symbol, Alex? Yeah, square it. You square the square root. It's actually really good, man. Good job. So remember, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So if we're going to square the right, we must square the whole left side. Does anyone know what 4 squared is? 16. So I'm going to write 16 equals 16x. So I just got rid of the square root that way. Now remember, I want to get rid of the 16, so I'm going to divide both sides by 16. Very good. I heard it. I heard the answer. So x equals 1. Then it's okay if we write it backwards like this. You see what I'm always talking about when I say the calculator is keeping us from learning the real algebra? This is the algebra. But if you put the left side in y1 and the right side in y2 and then hit second graph, you can jump through this and get to here, but then you don't learn any of these steps. And then when you get into geometry and algebra 2 and they take away the calculator and you try to take the TSI and they don't let you have the calculator, you don't know what, you're lost. So that's why only after we finish the STAR test are we able to learn some real math. That's why I'm doing this, all right? I'm doing this. I know that this sucks. You're like, man, I thought this guy said we were going to watch movies. But I'm doing this because you got to learn the algebra sometime. There needs to be. There needs to be a class called STAR and then a class called Algebra 1. Those are 2 different subjects. All right, number 50. Let's take a look at number 50. I promise, guys, if I ever become anyone with any power at all, I will try to use that power to get rid of that STAR test. Okay, number 50. What do I do to get rid of the square root? Square it. We're going to square both sides. So now a minus 9 equals 4 squared, 16. Now I'm going to add 9 to both sides. a equals 25. Good. Let's see what's coming up next. Ooh, look at this. Fun stuff. So I'm going to write this down. We're going to have to rewrite this, remember? Always have to rewrite it. So the square root of 1 minus 2b equals the square root of 5 minus b. So how do I get rid of the square root? Square it. So we're going to square both of these roots. This becomes 1 minus 2b equals 5 minus b. What should I do now? I want to get the b's together. So how do I make this b come over here? Add it. So I have 1, and then what is negative 2b plus b? Negative b. And then these b's go to 0, so this equals 5. Okay. Negative 2b plus 1b is negative 1b.
Oh.
So now, how do I get rid of this 1?
Both sides. Subtract.
So negative b equals 4. What do I do to get rid of the negative sign? What? I can either multiply or divide both sides by negative 1. It doesn't matter. Let's multiply both sides by negative 1. All that this does is it changes the sign. So this becomes positive b equal to negative 4. And that's the answer. Let's take a look here at number 52. The square root of 5x equals the square root of 6x minus 1. What do I do? Square both sides? So 5x equals 6x minus 1. I'm going to gather my x values on the same side. If I wanted to avoid negatives, I could subtract 5x from both sides here. And I would have 0 equals 1x, which is just x minus 1. And then I could add 1 to both sides here. to have 1 equal x. Saves you a little bit of a headache there to get rid of that negative. All right, we're moving on to number 53. Number 53, ladies and gentlemen, says n equals the square root of 30 minus n. So what do you think we do? Pardon me? Square it? Square both sides? Okay, so this is going to give us a new challenge. This is new territory. Something new, something fun. Okay, so what is n squared? It's just n squared, okay? Equals 30 minus n. Now, I'm going to help you with this one because you've not seen a problem like this before. We're going to end up having to solve a quadratic equation. But first, I need to move these terms over to this side of the equal sign. Okay, that's going to give me n squared plus n minus 30 equals 0. We've actually seen this problem already. I need two numbers that add to be positive 1 and multiply to be negative 30. I say we've seen it. It's come up earlier in the problem set. Two numbers that add to be positive 1. That's this middle coefficient here. And multiply to be negative 30. What can you think of? Give me two numbers that multiply to be 30.
15.
Okay, but 15 plus 2, even if one of those is negative, you're going to get 1 out of it. 1 and negative 30, but if I add those together, I'm not going to get 1. Think about 6 and 5. If I make the 5 negative, 6 plus negative 5 gives me positive 1. 6 times negative 5 gives me negative 30. So I'm going to rewrite this in the factored form. N plus 6 times n minus 5 equals 0. And then to actually solve, we set each of these factors equal to 0. So we set n plus 6 equal to 0 and n minus 5 equal to 0, and then we solve both of these equations for n. So minus 6 on both sides here, n equals negative 6, plus 5 on both sides here, n equals positive 5. So in this case, n has two solutions, and those solutions are negative 6 and positive 5.
Doesn't have There's a 5 and a positive 6 in the answer. Doesn't have the negative 6.
All right, let's backtrack and see if we did something wrong. All right, we squared the 30 in there. Then I subtracted 30 and added n. So it was n squared plus n minus 30. Yeah, we got the n squared.
Bring over, or carry over to the other side?
It is. It stayed here. N squared plus n minus 30 equals 0.
Oh, no, that's, no. I'm supposed to multiply, a, n squared, and make it, and get the.
Ah, okay. Let's go back here. So we got the correct answer, but one of these answers that I found is excluded. Okay, so this is the correct answer. It's the positive root or the positive value there. Let's look at what happens if x is -6 or n is -6. Then what I'm saying, we have to check these. All right. If n is -6, then I'm saying we have -6 squared. What's -6 times -6? Positive 36. All right. Now on the other side, I'm saying that the square root of 30 minus -6, 30 minus -6. So that's 30 plus 6, right? 36. What's the square root of 36? 6. Six, but not -6. All right. Remember the original equation was n equals the square root of 30 minus n. So if n is -6, what I'm saying is -6 is equal to the square root of 36. And I guess what this problem is saying is that we're only considering positive roots. So what I'm saying now is -6 would be equal to +6, and this is not true. So it's good to know. It's good to know. They only want us to consider solutions to the quadratic, which would result in a positive root. So let's see what that 5 would do. I'm saying now 5 equals the square root of 30 minus 5. which would be 25. The square root of 25 is 5. So 5 equals 5. So that checks out. So these are both correct solutions to this quadratic equation, but they're saying that -6 doesn't work because they only want in values that result in positive square roots. Okay. All right, let's do one more. Let's see if we can use what we just learned about that positive root business. So just so we're clear, there was no error in the math. We just needed to do a further evaluation of our two answers to see if any of them resulted in an incorrect conclusion. All right, so here's 54. The square root of -6 plus 5a equals a. Okay, so we're going to square both sides. Now I'll have -6 plus 5a equals a squared. And I can just move all of these terms over here by adding 6 and subtracting 5a to both sides. So this will be a squared minus 5a plus 6. I'm going to rewrite this again so we can look carefully at it. A squared minus 5a plus 6 equals 0. So I need two numbers that add to be -5 and multiply to be +6. -3 and -2. -3 plus -2 equals -5. -3 times -2 equals +6. So I write this in the factored form. A minus 2 times a minus 3 equals 0. And we'll set both of these. A minus 2 equals 0. We'll add 2 to both sides, so a equals 2. And then a minus 3 equals 0. We add 3 to both sides, and a equals 3. But apparently we need to check these answers to see if any of them violate. So first let's plug in 2. So I got the square root of -6 plus 5 times 2 is 10. And that's going to be equal to 2. Okay. So -6 plus 10 is +4. And the square root of 4 is equal to 2 because the square root of 4 is 2. So 2 equals 2. So that works. Now let's check a equals 3. So I'm saying that the square root of -6 plus 5 times 3 is 15 is equal to 3. Well, -6 plus 15, that's +9. So the square root of 9 equals 3. That's valid because the positive root of the square root of 9 is 3. So 3 equals 3. So I believe in this case we have two solutions. We have 2, 3. Okay, this is our solution set. And that's number 54. So let's review what we just did. We did, where did we start? On page number 49. So we went 49 through 54. Okay, that was those last two problems I thought were pretty interesting.